I don't have the gift, as some men may, of getting into a woman's mind very securely. But I am very good at finding out if she has a mind worth getting into, I think. You know, it's just not the best skill, really. A set of skills, or not set of skills. It's much better to be the kind of person to have that ability or confidence, just kind of get into people's minds a little bit and, get into their minds and then give them a stable, like the people I knew, say psychotics and narcissists and whatever. If I had the ability to get into their mind, be a little more alpha, and then give them a stable set of parameters as to where to go, they probably would have responded very well to that. I have no abilities that way. If I just know how to, hey, you're in my home. This is, where you can go with, you, and this is where you can't go with you. And, and this is how you're not going to grow. You're not going to enjoy this place otherwise anyway. This is how you're going to grow here. And that sounds very controlling for someone in your home. And you think, well, there's this other thing called, how you think people are supposed to behave around you. And boy, really, in the years when haven't been living, say, with my mom and living with other people and around other people, amazing how few people that I've known who come into my home and I think behave the way that I want someone to behave when they come over to my home. I can think of one person, one female in my entire life, and she was Native. A really beautiful Native woman. And it was like, but no one, man or woman I invited to my home, really ever behaved themselves the way I wanted to. In deference, I could have told them this, that, or the other, but they just didn't. Like, wow, how do you behave, whoever you are out there, when you go to someone's home? I think I wouldn't like someone to tell me how to behave or to tell me I was behaving badly. I like to think, like, for instance, like I wouldn't go into your cupboards, something I've had people do. I wouldn't reach into your drawer and get some bread and put it in your toaster and find the butter and just come into your home for the first time and use your kitchen. I wouldn't come into your home and, try to take anything over or steal anything or use it to hide stolen goods or as a place where I can use my relationship to you to help you steal something from someone. These are all things that have come into my home. Or I wouldn't try to rape you or sexually assault you or just kind of flirt really strongly to you until maybe you thought, hey, yeah, sure, I'll do that with you. And really, that's not something that had been on your mind at all. And it really wasn't the kind of conditions that you really could say that was fully consensual. And so on and so on. Right? Not good. And then when I go back and see that I have a rapist couple of uncles, rest in peace. And I've got to get them out of my system. Right? And you need anger. That's when, you might say, oh, why are you angry? Why are you angry? And it's like, well, you need anger to get rapists out of your blood. For one, duh. If you get these things that, if you believe, as I do, that they live through human behavior in families, it's not just, oh, he raped your mom and that's it. It's like it lives through your mom. It lives through maybe your dad. It lives through your family. It lives through my emotional body. I didn't know what I was doing, but I mapped this out with a novel I wrote when I was 19. I said 18. I think I've said 18, 19. I think 19, 20, I suspect. Okay, 19, 20 years old. And I wrote a short novel in high school and then in 18, and I wrote this at 19. And it was a map of this. It was like a map. And I burned the manuscript, but it was like the map lived. It was like a map to my life. You wonder, I was wondering, what laws do I follow? Well, the pain just between men and women and the anger and the idea of sexual abuse and trying to find yourself in a world that can seem beautifully oceanic and full of excitement while you move through a kind of psychosis that prevents you from getting out of circumstances that you really should never have even been inclined to accommodate. And this is all through the lens of a woman who's coming out of prostitution after being molested as a child in a Christian family in Canada. And also, there's a male component that comes into it, and not just a pimp whom you assume to be a misogynist, but just a random male appears at the end of the book and finds this woman after she's gone through some semblance of recovery, who's now beginning to represent basically an energy that's still going to prey on her. Very advanced novel, which was roundly rejected by the Malahat Review in Victoria, British Columbia. And I'm saying, that's fine. I'm not bitter or anything. But I guess in a way I'm still selling it. I'm having some pride in it. I'm not trying to down the Malha Review. That would be stupid. But it's just like, I have some pride in it. I don't have anyone to be proud of me. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of what I wrote. I'm proud that, 25 years later, I can still analyze this book, and I don't even have a copy of it. It's incredible book. Incredible. I mean, there's bits of James Joyce in this motherfucker, and I hadn't even read him. I'm reading cultural anthropologists in my 20s who are helping to me explain the first novel I wrote. And then getting into linguistics and human language. The book itself had an enigmatic poem in it, which I still remember, which is that life is true, death is false. Life is true, death is false. True and false are opposites, but life and death are not. Which is a beautifully mysterious poem. And then it was like, row, row, row your boat. This idea that this entire story could help us enter into a kind of fable, even among dark circumstances. And I was reading Dickens at the time, where our life at its worst was also that something that was yet cradling our flesh and blood through life. That there was a rhythm like a cradle to our lives. Row the canoe, row the boat. And maybe there was a physical cradle when you're a baby, but the world still has to cradle us. We have blood that needs to move from night to dark, or the day to dark. We have minds that need to move from oppression to liberation, from death to redemption to resurrection. And days across arcs of stresses that can start here and then days, weeks, years, and lifetimes later. And could all be seen in its most glorious sense if you're lucky enough throughout the movement and the intelligence that moves through all of your labors that you can glimpse this like a sunrise or a beautiful tree or the tree of life itself. This great and beautiful level of celestial growth and of the purpose of life itself moving through your labors in the personal sense, in your family sense, in the sense of what you represent as mankind and as men, and also as people, with your sex, irrespective of your sex. And something that was just fertile. If your sex gave off some sense of fertility, this was your fertility. This was some of your fertility, your creativity. This is sort of what I've learned. One more little smoke and let's go. I mean, very indulgent. Oh, a plane. We sort of felt like maybe we were encountering some more bears today. I was on camera and I was a little furtive there. I was like, okay. And I sort of stood my ground and I was like, okay, I think we're all right. I think I come out there for that experience. It was just an interesting challenge. Trying to be comfortable when bears and cougars can come out at you at any time. And you have absolutely no ability to defend yourself except with your stature in nature. I placed myself at their mercy and I bowed before them. Because as I said, and I agree, still, it would be better to bow to the bears of the earth than to the kings of the earth. To the cougars and the cats of the earth. To the spiders and the ants and the beetles, and to the dung beetles and the flies, and the warthogs and the rhinos and the giraffes and the elephants and the horse, and the dogs and the wolves and the caribou and the elk and the eagle and the osprey and the griffins and the gerfalcons and the hawks and the owls and the mice and the rodents and the bugs and the spiders and all the things that swim and breathe and think and move and stir and sit and ingress with all that is in heaven and earth, and the turning spheres on spheres, and not just of our minds in these worlds where we find this or that done for us at great cost here and there, that who should know the economics of our fucking biology of a modern man? The fuck I have the intelligence to do that. I just have the imagination to suspect that there's a little something dubious about the fact that we're not being helped along in the economic comprehension of the costs and values and labors and measures and what they're supposed to add up to, that we're supposed to give more and more of them by birth and matrimony and every fucking thing else. I want to live my own life. I want to know. Just tell me the truth. Give it to me straight. And I'll take it in a circle or two for a few years and let you know what I think. Like my food. Do you think about what you eat? Do you think about the medicines you take? Do you think about the people you spend time with? Do you think about how you spend your time? Then shouldn't you think about what your time is a part of on this earth, economically, financially? Do not the foods you eat, even in their sweetest, have a cost? Does not a moment of weakness and a fondness for dubiously apportioned croissants at some strange bakery not somehow lead to gout or goiter or something later? I mean, things have consequences that you need abstract faculties to project across time, to look around you, to look at, hey, fat people. What? Oh, look, I went to his house and he's fat and he ate 10 times the amount of food when he was 12-year-old than I did. And it was mostly carbohydrates. Bingo, bango, bongo. I'm not going to do that. Bingo, bango, bongo. That's an education. That's one to not grow on. You know what I'm saying? Some things are obvious, and then you think, uh-oh, what if something was obvious to them about you? Little quid pro quo. By the way, I just love saying that every day. Quid pro quo. I fucking love it. I don't even use it properly. I'm just like, hey, dude, quid pro quo. And he's like, quid pro, my non-existent friend, quid pro quo to you too, my friend. I'm like, thank you, my friend. Quid pro quo to you. Quid pro quo. And he'd be like, dude, you're stoned. And I'm like, dude, you don't even exist. And he's like, that hurt my feelings. I'm like, your feelings don't exist either. But I'll let you have feelings. Oh, thanks, man. And you can have thoughts of your own. Hey, if you had a thought of your own, what would be the first thought you ever had in your little head? Hey, man, I can catch sarcasm and malice. That's my first one. Holy shit. I have a lot of shit. I carry a lot of shit around. Okay. Do you need to piss, my little man? I do need to piss, my father. Piss all over your face. And you can use it as hair mousse, gel. Now come in your hair too, Daddy. Come in your head because I want to denigrate you the way you denigrated me. Piss on me, I piss on you. Daddy-o. This is my workshop for men with trouble with their fathers. Piss on your fathers this week. This week we let out all our rage. Nathaniel, do you have a rape fantasy with your father you were telling me about? Yeah. I really experienced a lot of rage last night, so I got up and I have this rape fantasy where me and Vanna White fuck on top of my father's face. Because that's what I feel my parents did to me. Because I know they had coitus when my mom was 9 months pregnant. Okay, that's enough, Nathaniel. And I felt it bumping in my head. Till to this day, I have dreams of like something bumping up against me. And I'm like, I wake up punching people sometimes. I just pegs me so much. All right. You've got some pre-coital insomniatic rage there, Nathaniel. Dude, you're not even a real fucking doctor. You just run this shit because you have nothing better to do, and you think a bunch of ponces like us are going to give you some fucking authority in the realm of mental health, motherfucker. You're still living with your mother, motherfucker. Hey, just because you're black and you have the power to talk to me that way doesn't mean it doesn't hurt my feelings. Now, I've attributed feelings to you, even though you don't exist. And now look at what you're doing. Right away, you get into the violence. Jesus Christ himself died for people like you. Oh. exciting and new. It's the love boat. We're expecting you. It's like they're expecting me. It's like, and I'm watching it. Maybe I'm thinking, how did you know? How did you know I was coming? You expect me to come to love boat? Don't I have a choice? I'm just figuring out my clothing. If your clothing while you're roaming leaves you feeling gray, just stick your own hand down your pants and then you will never feel just so gay. When the wheel turns, when the spike hits, when the hammer falls, be sure that your friends and your neighbors know all of your alibis, that's for sure. Always have an alibi. 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 Eating a banana. Always have an alibi, just like old Dana. Always have an alibi. Always have an alibi. Always have an alibi, like a cheetah. Always have an alibi in the street. Roam. The streets of Rome. I walk around. The streets of Rome. Man, I'm roaming around the streets of Rome. Start to feel a touch of His Majesty's chrome. I start to feel a taste of the music. I start to feel why they make men cry. I start to feel why they make men die. I start to feel why wicked women make us shy. And they make a little boy shy. I think I know when I walk around these many paths of the sun. I think I know when I walk around so much my flesh and blood has tried and hasn't found even yet a kind of place where I'll never get wet when the rain falls down. So many grasses, many desires of man. Okay, hold it. I have an issue. It's raining. I gotta put my jacket back on. Oh, look, the beetle. I found you. Hi. Yeah, I didn't follow you here. I'm not stalking you. Mr. Beetle. You're everywhere. Don't worry, I'll be gone soon. Oh. It's the Beatles kind of day for me. The Beatles fun. So this is kind of like a red beetle. Well, a red-backed beetle. It's very shiny red, which I like. This beetle's really good. I think he's so fine. I hope he makes a wonderful use of his time. Beetle music. Beetle music. Did you know, Beetle, they had a band named after you? I don't think that was really a Beetle. Like Pearl Jam isn't really the name of his grandma. Pearl Jam is cum. It's Pearl Jam. It's men's ejaculate. So the loss of father. It's a ceremonial sex magic show. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not going to go down there. That's a deer path. Talking about the paths of the deer. He avoids the first chance he gets to follow the paths of the deer around. Hey, don't be a stranger. Come on, babe. This is just a part of your motherland. Don't be a stranger, come on back. This is a part of your mother's land. Hey, your father. Hey, your father. Talk about your father, man. Me? Come on, what do you think about when I say the words daddy? Daddy, 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 daddy. Mom, dad, mommy. I hated having to stop saying mommy. Mom? It's you. You're not mommy anymore. And just think about the transition from mommy and daddy to mom and dad, right? Which, like, what House of the Prairie was like ma and pa. Hey ma, hey pa. It almost sounded like she had a speech impediment. Pa? I mean, come on. You can't do papa, you know? Pa? It's like, they're so hardworking, but she's too lazy to spit out an extra syllable. Right? Ma and pa. Instead of saying ma and papa, she says ma pa. And so she saved herself 2 syllables. She's going to live longer. It's like, hey ma pa. Mop the floor. So, anyway. So you go from mommy and daddy, and they change names. What happens with the change of name often is a change of identity. Why is your identity changing? Why is their identity changing? What's different? And I think that's interesting. You know, I am suspicious of all of these things. Getting your mom and dad to give you, like, you give them a name, mommy, daddy. And what happened with Arthur Zhanoff is he took his clients and he got them to say mommy, daddy, over again until he started triggering. He found that he could trigger, or they would be triggered, in terms of birth traumas. Traumas from young age and then eventually birth. In this tremendous primal crying out to one's mommy, or the pain of one's mommy, or pain at all to one's daddy, everything, anything, just screaming out every and any kind of pain that the human brain could be sensible of, whether or not we remain sensible of it, and that you may in fact not remain sensible of it, precisely the worst kinds of brain traumas, and that the brain is so good at dealing with it, and society is run in such a sophisticated way, this is beyond Janov, that you can make good use of how you can predict the brain will operate subsequent to a sufficient amount of agony, which is said to silence the voice of man, or to help him or force him to adjust to a world that it is not necessarily a healthy thing to adjust to, and ostensibly, call it the world or life, just the way life is, reality. And I've had alcoholics say to me, oh, fuck you, this is the real world. This is what it's called, being an adult. If you don't get to, you get to enjoy, feelings. You don't get to have feelings. That's the reality of being an adult, and so on. Oh, okay. That's something to listen to, right? Right. What is obviously like what we call an alcoholic? What are they suffering from? Do you think that they have a lot of feelings? Let's say the loss of the father, which is comparable to death, right? And humans can feel like death, right? You can feel like you're dying just in terms of your emotions. If your mother or father were suddenly killed in front of you, which you might see on TV, for fuck's sake, what do you think that would do to you? Your mind would probably go blank. You probably would, you could lose the ability to speak. You could go blind. You could get a stroke. You could be fine. You could live the rest of your life, and then one day you hack your own hand off with a meat cleaver. It's just you know what I mean? Emotions matter. That's why when we think of children, we say, oh, I don't want my child to experience that or to be exposed to that. I've had Chinese people, within their prerogative, remove their children away from me while sitting in a public hearing. And I think it's a nice story. I like to think I'm a nicer person than that, but I think it's reasonable. It's still rational. It doesn't mean, the guy wasn't trying to hurt me. He just didn't like the look of me. And it's a good habit that he's in, right? Protecting his children from strangers. So think about what maybe children don't need to be exposed to, right? That limits their emotional range.